Good evening. Welcome to the July 16th, 2014 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone, if you haven't already, please take your cell phones and put them on silent or turn them off, please. And would you please stand and repeat after me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please have a seat. Applications heard during tonight's meeting will be voted on by the Planning and Zoning Commission during the meeting tonight. The Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation on these applications will then be submitted to the St. Charles County Council for their final decision on the items. The individual items or bills will be introduced at the Monday, August 11th, 2014 County Council meeting. I see we have a quorum. Will someone move that we open the meeting?
So moved.
I hear a second. All in favor?
Aye.
The following documents are introduced as a matter of record for the public hearing and regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Unified Development Ordinance of St. Charles County, including zoning maps, and the year 2025 Master Plan for St. Charles County, which includes the year 2025 Future Land Use Plan map. Just as a little roadmap for the evening, I will read each application into the record. We will then ask staff for their analysis of the application and their recommendation, and answer any questions from the commission. Then the applicant, if they're here and they wish to do so, may come up and explain what the application is about, explain it, answer any questions the commission may have for them. Once that is over, we will open it up to the public. So anyone that wishes to speak on that application may do so. A couple of things regarding that. Please make sure you do fill out one of our speaker cards. They're up here at the top, at the front of the building here, just so we have a record of your attendance and your notes. And then also, please, since we do have a large number of people that are going to be speaking tonight, please do keep your comments to 2 minutes or less, and we will let you know when you get close to that. And after the public hearing is over, we will invite the applicant up to maybe answer any of the notes, clarify anything that we may have for them. After that, the board, the commission will discuss openly the matter, and then we will make a recommendation, which, as I've said, we will send on to the county council at their August meeting. The first application tonight is application 23431 by Scott Sacco, applicant, and Michael S. Sammelman and Elizabeth A. Sammelman, owners. The application requests a rezoning change from R1B single-family residential district 20,000 square foot minimum lot size to R1D single-family residential district 10,000 square foot minimum lot size. The property is located on the south side of Mexico Road, approximately 200 feet east of Harris Drive. The property consists of 0.6 acres and is located within Council District 4. Staff?
Hi, this again is a request to rezone property from R1B single-family residential to R1D single-family residential. Significance of that doesn't have to do with land uses and what's permitted, what sorts of uses are permitted. It really boils down to what the minimum lot size would be allowed for this property. Currently, the minimum lot size is 20,000 square feet. If it were rezoned, the minimum lot size for a parcel in this zoning district would be 10,000 square feet. You can see in the aerial photograph here where the property is located, right on Mexico Road, adjoining St. Peter's. And the practical purpose of doing so is that the applicants are interested in transferring about 25 feet of this lot to the neighbor's lot to the west, and that's to the left in this picture. And you can see that house is on a corner on a busy street and has practically zero back or side yard. Currently, they're using part of this lot now, and there's a fence there. They have an easement roughly 25 and a half feet wide, but the easement really isn't sufficient to be satisfactory to any buyer for this parcel. So the intent, I think, should this rezoning be successful, would be to do a lot line adjustment, transfer 25 feet to the property to the west. And that's the essence of this case. The master plan recommends low-density residential, and the minimum lot size for the zoning district would be in conformance with the master plan.
Any questions of staff? No? Thank you. All right, if the applicant is here and they wish to do so, they may step up. Can you raise your right hand for us?
Yes.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you state your name and address for our record, please?
Sure. My name is Scott Sacco, S-A-C-C-O, with Keller Williams Realty West, and located at, that office is at 5377 Highway N in Cotterville, Missouri.
Okay, go ahead.
Excuse me. So I think Robert did a great job of explaining the situation here. It's right on the corner, and it is, there's not a whole lot of area for that house. The same owner owns the house and the vacant ground. And so in order to have additional yard area, they moved that fenced into the vacant lot that they already owned. So that was the impetus for doing that. And recently the house was sold. But while that house was being sold, nobody was interested in buying it, keeping the existing property line. They wanted it into that vacant lot where it would have an additional area for kids to play, because this is right on there. So that's why that happened. In order to get the sale done, there was a temporary easement. So that's why we're requesting the rezoning. We're only going to build one home on that vacant lot, that portion to the east. So that's only big enough for one lot anyway. So that's why we'd hope that you'd recommend approval of the zoning so that we can go move forward with that and build one home on that lot.
All right. Any questions for the applicant? All right.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We will now open this up to the public, so if there's anybody in the room that wishes to speak on this particular application, please feel free to do so. Seeing none, we will close the public portion of the hearing and move it back to the commission. Comments, suggestions, questions?
I move approval of application 23-431.
Okay. All right. Mr. Settley, how do you vote?
I vote yes to approve.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Leonard?
Yes.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Ms. Polly?
I must abstain.
All right, the motion is approved. All right, which will be moved on to the county council. All right, the next application is application 23470, the preliminary plat of the estates at Glenridge. Let me grab that. Glenridge by Bax Engineering Company, applicant/engineer, Fisher and Fisher Custom Homes LLC developer, and John Fisher Realty Corporation owner. The property is zoned R1C, single-family residential district, 15,000 square foot minimum lot size, consists of 7 lots and is approximately 4.4 acres. Property is known as 820 Clover Valley Lane. It is located on the east side of Clover Valley Lane, north of Towers Road. The property is located within Council District 7. Staff?
All right, this again is an application for a plat that does not involve a rezoning. So the proposal is to subdivide one lot into 7 lots, and in so doing, extend Clover Valley Lane, that cul-de-sac. This property did have a house that was destroyed by a tornado, and there was a hole in the ground with water in it left over from after the home was demolished. But people may want to know that that's, I'm told, has now been filled in. So what's remaining is properly capping the well that's on the property and dealing with the septic tank. But aside from that, the larger property would be developed with 7 residential lots. Again, the zoning would stay R1C, single-family residential. I would comment that stormwater would be handled through a common ground off the back of the property, where it drops down about 30 or so feet, maybe 25 feet. Also, let's see if I can. This is the copy of the latest version of the plat that incorporates a few questions that we had asked about. You'll see that the cul-de-sac actually goes all the way to the property line, so there is a potential for connecting to the property next door at some future date, if possible. And that's all they,
Any questions of staff? All right, see the applicant is already up here. Would you care to raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, can you state your name and address for a record, please?
Sure. My name is Dale Bax. I'm with Bax Engineering. Our location is 221 Point West Boulevard, St. Charles, Missouri, 63301.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Again, my name is Dale Bax. I am with Bax Engineering. I'm here representing Fisher and Fritchell this evening for the estates of Glen Ridge. Robert has done a great job explaining to you exactly where the site's located and what we're planning on doing to the site. We are planning on 7 lots on 15,000 square foot minimum lots already zoned R1C, planning on estate-style homes. As he said, we will be eliminating the existing cul-de-sac and extending that through the development and providing a new cul-de-sac to service our 7 lots and provide all the turnaround access for emergency vehicles and so forth. We are going to follow all St. Charles County stormwater regulations and subdivision rules. And then we'll also be following this up with a record plat. So I'll be certainly happy to answer any questions you might have this evening.
Any questions of the applicant? All right. Oh,
I have
Mr.
a
Settle?
question. That cul-de-sac, I've been looking for numbers on this. The print is very, very small.
Yeah.
On my copy, anyway. And we have issues with school buses sometimes. Is that compliant?
Well, we'll have to review that. There's certain length limits of streets prior. That's, the length of the street would determine what size cul-de-sac is to be built on this. We're planning on a standard 42-foot radius cul-de-sac for pavement, but we'll certainly have to get that approved through the district in St. Charles County as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We will now open this up to the public, so if there's anybody in the room that wishes to speak on this, please feel free to come forward and do so.
My name is Francis Link.
Can you raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you. Name and address for our record, please.
Francis Link, I live at 22 Friars Hall Court, which is at the bottom of the hill. And my question is, every time it rains, I get everybody's water. There's a storm drain that drains right into my backyard. I've asked the city of St. Charles, I've talked to everyone, and everybody just blows me off. My question is somebody going to do something about this, or can I put fish back there?
Are you in an unincorporated area, or are you in the city?
I'm in St. Charles County. It's unincorporated.
Okay. The county, you should come to the county about it.
I did. I sent him a letter. I had, on March 27th of 12, I called him. I called him back on April the 17th.
Okay.
I called him on April the 18th, and the lady that took the call said her job is to answer the phone.
So you haven't talked to anybody in the county other than someone who took the message?
No, sir, I'll talk to anybody you want. I just don't know who to talk to. I can't get anybody courteous to let me talk to him.
Well, if I can make a comment right now, Frank and I used to be neighbors. I don't know if he realizes I just moved out recently, but what he says is true. I can give you a firsthand account of that. In the heavy rains we just had last month, I don't know how long it took for that to drain out, but.
There's a
we had
storm
probably
drain
a
that
foot
just
of-
drains.
Yeah, we had about a foot of water back there.
That's a problem. I wouldn't be very happy if I was a resident and I called the county and they didn't return my phone calls. So I'm a resident too. We serve on the commission as volunteers, and I'm not a county employee, but if I were you, I wouldn't wait. I'd call, I'd be down here talking to them and get some resolution on it. Absolutely.
Be sure to fill out a, if you haven't done
Oh,
it,
yeah,
so
I
fill
filled the card
fill out a card, great. At least we have,
Do you have any comment on this particular development though, or?
I'm at the bottom of the hill. I want to know where the water's going to go when it
Can
rains.
you show us where you're at on that map?
Can you go to the map before it's easier to read?
Yeah.
yep.
No, right where you were at before.
Right there? Okay.
22. Not 22.
Oh.
And I was.
okay, yeah.
He's right back here,
He's there.
and you were right
I
here.
was there.
So
our backyards, but
So why is that, though? I mean,
I don't
Something
know.
about to return.
I made the suggestion, call the county.
yeah, so you're gonna have to call the county. Again, if it has something to do
Who
with.
at the county?
Yeah, I would be down here. I'd be down here. I wouldn't just call on the phone.
I can help with that.
Robert?
I can help with some of this question. First of all, stormwater with this subdivision would be dealt with in what's called the common ground, which is a lot held in common by all of the property owners. And so they have to have stormwater detention, but that would let out into this creek. There is a creek back there. And so the stormwater detention is going to control the flow of water coming off of this subdivision into that creek. Now, they're also going to have to identify 25 feet back from the creek bank and keep that vegetated in perpetuity. They can't disturb the 25-foot vegetative buffer. And all of the design of the stormwater system is going to have to meet the county's requirements for stormwater. And the specific division that you could contact, ask about what those standards are, is called Development Review. And if you, I'm sorry, I don't have the phone number handy, but let's see here. If you call the county and ask to speak to the Development Review Division and tell them your situation, they can tell you what stormwater requirements are for properties such as this. Also, Bax Engineering representative is here, so they could probably tell you the specifics and the mechanics of how the stormwater works, but
How the stormwater is going to work, or how it works now?
how it will work for this, yeah, for this subdivision. Yeah, but there is a creek back there, no doubt about it, as you know.
And my other question is, if they're going to drain this water into a pond, I have grandchildren. Are they going to have protection around this pond?
I think it will depend on whether it's going to be a dry bottom or whether which would be detention. That's typically what it is, versus a retention pond is where it holds the water like a lake. So the engineer could clarify, but almost always it's a detention. So there's water in it for a couple of hours until the water slowly lets out.
Will they acknowledge what they're going to do prior to doing it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Prior, yes.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
So I would talk to Bax Engineering for that purpose.
Well,
you'd talk to Bax Engineering about this particular development, the preliminary
I would
plat,
talk to
yeah.
them about the pond and how it's going to drain itself.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, when the public hearing is over, I'm going to have them come up and.
I will ask the question.
Yeah, we're going to ask that specific question about this as soon as the public hearing is over. The public portion, we'll have them come right up after everybody's spoken. I'll have them come right back up here and tell everybody here what what that pond's going to be like.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, if there's anybody else in the room that wishes to speak, please come forward. Could you raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I swear to God.
All right.
My
Can you state your
name's
name and
Mike
address for a
Paulson.
record?
My name is Mike Polson, P-O-L-C-Y-N. I live on 24 Friars Hall Court, on the other side of Frank and Mr. Phil Arshashevsky over here. We also have the problem of the stormwater drainage. And let me say this for the record, that we have seen stormwater of biblical proportions going through that creek. Okay, and my concern is, and let's not mince words, there is no common ground on the plat that I saw, but a retention basin. Now, typically when retention basins are constructed, all the trees are knocked down, they regrade it to have this big pond, basically, just like Frank said. I have a concern with that. If this water is going to be drained back into that creek, there's going to be a huge issue with erosion in my yard, his yard, and what's left of Frank's yard. All right, so this really needs to be addressed. This is my main concern. I don't speak for these people. I don't have a problem with 7 houses being developed on that property. It can only increase the value of my property. I'm not opposed to that. I have large concerns about the retention basin, not common ground. If it was common ground, that would be great.
All right.
But a retention basin is scary. The other thing is, I know you told me that there'd be 25 feet worth of growth there. There are some old growth trees in there. There's probably 4 or 5 100-year-old trees in there. I wonder if they're going to be all removed. And if the side of that retention basin is going to be replanted. That's what I got.
All right, thank you. If there's anybody else in the room that wishes to speak on this, please feel free to come forward. All right, can you raise your right hand for us? All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Name and address for our record, please.
John Kinsey, I live at 819 Clover Valley Lane, next to the property's been developed, and like the gentleman before us, I have a problem with the water, only it doesn't go along my property, it goes through my property. And I watched that creek in the last 25 years go from 3 or 4 feet wide, 1.5 feet deep, to 6 or 7 feet deep, and in some places 18, 20 feet across. I probably lost 10 or 12 trees that have been undermined by that water. Now, part of it will come off of this one, but part of it also came when they developed Briargate and upper portions of Saratoga Heights. So I've been catching that water for a long time. I was there before they built Briargate, so I know what's going on. I have the same reservations about a detention pond as the rest of them. I know what happens to them. They get overgrown, they don't get maintained, and they become a real pond. And like you said, it'll become a place with mosquitoes, varmints, anything else that wants to live back there. And nobody's going to go back there and take care of it. I've been around long enough to know that's just a fallacy. Nobody's going to really go back there and keep it mowed and cleaned out so it'll run properly. I have 2 questions, though, that have to do with Clover Valley Estates. There were 3 houses in the original development. One of them sold a piece of property to the fire department. One of them has been sold to a developer. What happens to Clover Valley Estates, the original subdivision? What happens to the rules and bylaws? And who do we fall under as far as jurisdiction in the future? We no longer even have a quorum if we want to sit down and discuss something because the 3 original homes are down to 2 now. So how did the county address that? What provisions are we going to be asked to fall under? And you're talking about the school bus. My kids walked to Tires Road from the time they were 5 or 6 years old until they graduated because no bus would come up and turn around. So that's another fallacy. They won't use those circles. And they'll make them walk down the Tires Road. And I can tell you what it's like for a 6 or 7-year-old kid who has to wait for the school bus when it's 10 or 15 degrees outside. You get to drive down there and sit. And if you're fortunate enough to be home when the bus comes, that's good. If you're not, you have to hope a neighbor will watch them. So I know what'll happen to these people. They'll be walking their kids past my house all the way to Tires Road because that's the only way they're going to get the bus to pick them up. So,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
John, I have just a quick question.
Yeah.
John? I have just a quick question. Are you I'm just trying to get the,
819.
819, okay.
To the left,
Okay.
and that creek you're
All right.
referring to, it goes right straight through me.
okay, I just
Like
wanted to make
said,
sure I had it
I've
straight.
got video of that creek over the years.
I'm sure you do.
I've heard it. Sounds like the Rio Grande when the water's coming through there.
I can believe
So if
that.
they're able to do something to help with this, are you going to be in favor of it?
I don't care how many houses they build over there. I tried this fight and lost last time.
Right.
The county has its reasons for what it does. My concern is if disturbing the watershed now
Right.
is going to cause me the greatest damage
Sure.
of all of the houses that's involved.
And we don't want that.
Water's already coming through the property because they tore down an old building that was there. And no, they did not fill in the basement hole. So somebody's been misinformed there. It's full of water and mosquitoes, and then I've even seen a couple of cranes looking for some frogs, but that being said, water's already coming through my property. Now, to add point to this, my house was lost in a tornado last year. That's a brand-new home setting there. I've already lost 1.5 feet of dirt in some places because of the water change that occurred when they took out that simple oversized garage and busted up the concrete. They changed the watershed then. It's been cutting right straight across my property now. And I've already had to hire someone twice to come and regrade and try to reseed and save what I can. If this is the future I'm looking forward to, then I'm going to have a real problem. So
But again, would you be in favor if the plat is improved through this
Yeah,
development.
the houses will be probably big enough, the lots look big enough.
Okay.
I'm not gonna fight them on
Okay.
that. I just want not to receive the worst end of this. Because I'm too
Understand.
close to it.
Yep.
And I don't want to become a bad neighbor because
Understand.
I don't want my backyard going down to the highway every time it rains.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody else in the room that wishes to speak? Yep. Can you raise your right hand for us? Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. State your name and address for our record, please.
Phil Archishevsky. I'm at 23 Friars Hall Court. My property backs up, I guess, right to the new development. There's a couple of things I'd like to ask. I'd just like to know how come we were never made aware of the sale of the property when it went through? It was done in December. We were never told that the property was going to be developed or anything. Why weren't we made aware of the sale of the property?
Well, you wouldn't be notified of a sale of the
Sales
property.
isn't required to be,
And,
isn't required to be.
It's only when
There's
they
no
change
public
zoning.
notice for property sales.
That's why you've been notified.
okay, my main concern too is the runoff. I've spent about $5,000 in trying to keep erosion down in my backyard because St. Charles County basically told me I was on my own. The detention pond or retention area has me concerned for loss of property value. What's it going to look like? I measured it down, it's about halfway down my back property line, and I'm going to be looking out over a three-season room at, a weed patch? I've got nice trees back there now, and if they clear all that off and it's made into a detention pond, what's it going to look like if somebody doesn't take care of it? And also, I see that there's a 20-foot common ground on this development. I'd like to know what's going to be done with that, who's going to maintain that between my property and the new property that's being put in up there. And it's where the service is going to be brought into the subdivision.
Yeah, all the utilities and stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I've already got a big easement in my backyard, and there's not a whole lot I can do with it if they start running more stuff in through my backyard. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you.
And no, I don't approve of it.
All right. Does anybody else in the room? Yeah. All right. All right. Can you raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Can you state your name and address for our record, please?
Wayne Farron, Faron, and I live at 834 Kisker Road. So it's the lot on the top side of the lake there. Couple points. Just want to state for the record, too, that I'm concerned about the runoff. I actually will have, the creek is on my property, and so all the water that everyone else has talked about does come through that creek. And right now, it's excessive. The tornado that removed a lot of the trees around the area, that's caused a lot of the additional water to come down there. And then with this development, it's going to be, even with the retention pond that, is discussed, that water still has to empty out at some point. And then I'm concerned, too, about the other property there that is eventually probably going to be developed, too. Just noting where the road is placed, they're going to use that road to develop some more property at some point. So that issue is even going to get greater as time goes on. So that's a concern. And then the utilities, where those will come through, I have an easement on my property also, and I'd like to know where those utilities will come through at. Okay,
All right. Thank you.
thanks.
All right. If there's anybody else, all right, come on. All right. Can you raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Can you state your name and address for our record, please?
My name is Phil Meinsinger. I live at 811 Clover Valley Lane, which is right across the street from the property under.
Yeah. Go ahead.
A couple of questions I had one was utilities. That piece of property has no utilities on it, has no sewer, no water, no gas, just electric. So we have no idea where they're going to be running these utility lines. Also, on the end of Clover Valley on Towers is the fire department. The fire department uses Clover Valley to bring the fire trucks in and out of the fire station. With this additional traffic in here, I'm very concerned that if there's an emergency and the truck has to come in and go back out again, he's going to have a problem. So, like I said, I'm worried about the safety of the community, and that could be a big problem. And that's all I've got.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anybody else that wishes to come forward? All right. Can you raise your right hand for us? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can you state your name and address for our record, please?
Rich Birding, Boerding, 4328 Towers Road. My question is, I'm not opposed to the development, but once it leaves here tonight, it goes to St. Charles County
Council.
Council. After that, it's cut and dried and finished. My question is, all the people that have spoken tonight, will they have an opportunity to look at their grading plans to see once where all these utilities will be coming from, and the rest of the water dissipation? Will we be afforded to have that last look before it goes through?
Yeah. I mean, we got a site plan, right? I mean.
Well,
or-
plans that are submitted to us, yes, they're publicly available. So once construction plans are submitted, those are available for people to review. I'm hoping also that the engineer from Bax tonight can answer some general questions about where the utilities will be coming from, what direction. And
Well, then it would be possible to obtain a set of these grading plans so we can look at
Yes.
the drainage, proposed drainage areas?
yeah. Yeah, if you want to leave your name and number, I'll make sure you get a copy.
Okay. That's all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody else in the room that wishes to speak on this? All right. Seeing none, we will close the public portion of the hearing. If the applicant wishes, would please come forward. I think there were several issues that we would like to see addressed.
Thank you very much. Again, my name is Dale Bax. I am with Bax Engineering here representing Fisher and Fritchell. First off, I'd like to say we are very sympathetic to our surrounding property neighbors. We certainly want to appease them. We want this to be a very nice development that satisfies our needs as well as their needs. And to answer a few of their questions here, I'm just going to go down through the list. They might not be in order here, but Rich, the plans will certainly be available through St. Charles County. As soon as we submit those to them, we certainly make those public records. Fire station at the corner. Yes, there's no doubt the fire station uses Clover Valley Drive as access for means in and out of their station. I would say with 9 houses, 10 counting the one right on the corner, I just don't feel that that's enough houses that's going to create any type of issues or problems for safety. I look at different fire stations throughout St. Charles, St. Louis County. A lot of these fire stations are on major roads where you have a lot more traffic than what 7 houses or 8 or 10 houses on Clover Valley is going to generate. Fisher and Fritchell, there was some issues or some comments about the maintenance of common ground. The common ground will be maintained by the subdivision associations. We would certainly invite you to go look at any of Fisher and Fritchell's developments and look at how the common ground is maintained in those developments. And hopefully that will ease any concerns that they might have. The county is also very good at, requiring maintenance and improvements to common ground and detention basins as well that aren't functioning properly. It will be a detention basin. It will not be a retention basin. It will not hold water for any length of time other than to detain the water and to be released at a slow rate. The rate that we're going to release this water will meet county standards, and we have all intentions of protecting the off-site properties with storm drainage by putting the majority of this water into our detention basin and detaining this water, and then releasing this water at a slower rate. The majority of our water is going to discharge into the creek on the downstream end of the subdivision that's just north of us. We'll be discharging in our most northwestern corner. So there was a gentleman that got up that spoke. He lived next to that lake. We do not anticipate any additional stormwater entering this creek due to the stormwater requirements and detention requirements that St. Charles County imposes on us when we design a development like this. So we're hoping to make improvements to the stormwater runoff around this area, not cause any more issues or make it any worse than it already is. The sanitary and the water, there's water in the right-of-way of Clover Valley right now. Sanitary sewer is behind the fire station, running along the western property line of the fire station. We're going to acquire an easement from the fire district to obtain access to the sanitary sewer. So we will not be on any private property accessing any sanitary sewer. So that will all come from near the fire station. So we will not be on the backside of the development in the creek or trying to gain any services from that existing development behind us as well. So I hope that I've answered all these questions here. I apologize if I have not. Please inform me if I've missed a question or two. Yes, Gary.
Yeah, I've listened to a couple people that are familiar, and most everybody out here. There's just very simply, there's a problem that everybody's involved, and without you appearing tonight, the problem would still be there tomorrow. So with your development, your proposed development, this problem's come to the surface, and some people have mentioned they've tried to get it handled with the county and with no recourse. I think this is a very good opportunity for you as a developer to be a good steward and work with these other residents to solve. You've heard all their problems. You probably have more of an influence on how this is going to be shaped, so you can get your development through and also make a lot of happy campers in here. Because if you aren't doing this, tomorrow and the next week and the next week when it rains, they're going to still have the same flooding issue that they had, what, a couple of weeks ago, Sandy? Mm-hmm. So it's not going to go away. So I think this is a good opportunity, and also for most of the people that have concerns there, if you address those. And I personally would get in touch with all the residents that you've heard from tonight personally, and instead of going through the county, and work with them on a one-to-one basis and help them with your problems. I think you'll have a good reception with your development there.
Yeah, I have no issues generating a town hall type meeting at my office when the grading plans are generated and the detention basin has been designed to explain the situation to them, and they can voice additional concerns and opinions at that time as well.
Yeah.
I own some farms, and we have problems with erosion and they do it with terracing. And I'm looking at the site thing. I think when you talk to the people, or you have your public thing, if you could show exactly how you would terrace this ground, I know it's on its way back here, but this site plan doesn't show anything like that. It shows here's the elevation here, here's the elevation,
Correct.
As the ground falls. But obviously, with your engineering background, that can be fixed if you have the right kind of terrace in the right kind of place. And you know what they do in the farms? They put those pipes in there and it goes under and goes there.
Yes.
But that would be helpful, I think.
Yeah, we will be doing something very, very similar to the design that you're speaking of. The site's not really large enough to lend itself to terracing and so forth, but we'll control the stormwater with swales and underground storm sewer systems that will direct the water towards the detention basin. So in effect, it will be serving almost the same thing as what you're talking about with your terracing and your silt control piping that you guys install when you do that.
Ms. Pauling?
Gary, I just wanted to say thank you. That was well said. Great suggestion. Dale, just so I understand this then, what you're saying is that you anticipate that the detention pond will drain to the, it'll be kind of on the northwest area of that property, and it will drain westward into that creek there? Is
Yeah,
that-
it will drain almost directly northwest into the corner of the property. That's where that's where we would like to enter the creek with our stormwater, which hopefully will not have any effect, excuse me, on Briargate. I apologize for not doing that subdivision. We certainly don't want to impact Briargate any more than what they're speaking of tonight. Obviously, they've got some internal issues there with some storm sewers, so we don't want to cause that to be any worse than it already is, and we'll do all we can to make improvements. We can't control the water that's above their subdivision draining through and causing these issues, but certainly we can control our stormwater on our site and how we control that.
Well, I just wanted to just state that I've seen it for myself, having lived in that area, and what they're saying is absolutely true. And I just want to make sure, when we're looking at this proposed development, that whatever water is being, ends up in the detention pond there is going to flow away from the property, or away from Briargate, their properties, away from Briargate.
Basically making it better than it is now.
It will be better than it is now.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Flowing
thinking.
downstream, hopefully in the future, if we do get the opportunity to develop the piece to the east of this property, you'll fall right into the same categories we have now with the stormwater control and management that St. Charles County imposes on us. You can see the majority of that water that goes into Briargate is probably coming off that eastern piece when you really look at it. So I would think when the eastern piece does eventually get developed, the stormwater control there should help Briargate subdivision, reducing the amount of stormwater that's going through there and causing their problems. So I will do as much as I can on my particular piece of property, but I think the majority of the water that we're talking about here is on the eastern side of our particular development. But we will certainly control stormwater to the best of our abilities to meet county standards.
Well, and to the extent you're involved in this project out there too, I know it would be very appreciated if, when you're out there, you might be able to, give the county some assistance or.
Yeah, we'll certainly let them we'll make them aware of what was discussed
look
this
at it.
evening and let them know the concerns of the off-site property owners that they've mentioned this evening, and hopefully they can get some attention out there.
That would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Any other questions?
For the record, you did say there would be a homeowners association for these 7 lots.
Yes, there will be a homeowners association for these 7 lots. I don't think it's been discussed with me at this time on if we're going to utilize the existing homeowners association agreement that they had for the 3 lots that were existing in Clover Valley, or if the 7 lots will have will utilize that existing agreement and then enhance that to today's standards. So there will be some form of an association generated. There's common ground that has to be maintained, so therefore there will be an association that will be put together and maintain that common ground. The strip, 20-foot wide strip, a gentleman had mentioned that's along our north property line, that falls in the same category as our detention basin. It will be maintained by the subdivision association. And I'd say again, I invite you out to any Fisher and Fritchell development, and please look at how their detention basin and common ground is maintained.
So you honestly feel like the development that you're putting in there is going to make their problems not as bad?
I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to tell you I'm not going to create any more problems that they have. I'm not going to be allowed to put any more stormwater off of our site into what's already going into that creek. Matter of fact, we'll probably have to put less stormwater than what's coming off of that site into the drainage channel that they're talking about that's a flooding issue.
Yeah, it's a tough situation
Yeah.
because it seems like the problem is already there before
Yeah,
you even came.
but without a detention basin on our site with this development, as the gentleman said, it will never go away. It will always be there. So until something gets developed upstream that can slow the water down that's entering into this creek channel, your problem's still going to be there. So we are not allowed to discharge water off our site at any larger rate than what's going there prior to development. So that I can tell you right now, it will be reduced, the amount of stormwater running off-site.
Any other questions for the applicant? All right. We will close the hearing portion of it and bring it back before the commission.
Robert, I'd like to hear from you, since you're addressing this issue. How can the county help with this development, or can they, with the stormwater? Is there any agency or part of St. Charles County that can offer assistance?
Well, a couple of things. We've adopted the stormwater standards, and we apply those to every development. And so they do have to meet those stormwater standards. They have to provide that 25-foot landscape buffer. You have to keep that in perpetuity and can't touch that along the stream. Again, the water is going to be let out downstream from the subdivision in the north. It does mean that that water, well, it's already flowing across lot 819. It's going to continue to flow across that. But we can also be transparent. We can let people review plans and grading plans, stormwater plans, and so that they have full knowledge of what's going on. I can verify that the rate of stormwater as it's released is not going to be any more now than it is now currently. That's going to be a requirement if the subdivision is approved. So now, just like every development, though, the total amount of stormwater in aggregate, just like anytime you build or develop, even with the detention basin, there's going to be more water running off over time. But the rate of stormwater, it's not going to be a sudden rush. It's going to be, it's going to be let out little by little. That's basically how it's dealt with.
Any other discussions, comments?
I'd like to follow up with another question, Robert. We're just hearing about this problem with Briargate this evening and surrounding areas. How will we know if there's been an adverse impact? I mean, is it?
Well, one of us will tell you.
Well, yeah, other than that, I mean, I'm just saying that there's no way that, that's been measured. I mean, I'm not even sure if Dale is even aware of the problems over there before this evening.
Well, I would say our Development Review Division is a resource for homeowners if they feel like that there is a erosion problem or a stormwater problem. And Development Review Division has inspectors that can come out and review what's going on to see if there's any solutions for people. Also, subdivisions can work in concert sometimes if they have their own common ground and if there's any improvements that need to be made for stormwater infrastructure. But we do go on reports. When we get reports from homeowners, property owners, subdivision groups, people are commonly will contact us and say that, hey, we've got a problem at such and such a location. Can you check it out, see if what's going on, give us some advice. That's very typical for what the Development Review Division does for St. Charles County.
Yeah, go ahead.
Robert, in your review of these plans, is the report from St. Charles County Soil and Water District viewed and looked at for recommendations to probable problems to these sites? And it is an excellent source for people to go to that have these problems.
That's true. Yeah, the Soil and Water Conservation Commission, I'm sorry, is it the?
It's a conservation district that's
District,
formed in
I'm
the
sorry,
county.
not commission. Always do that. The district. But in fact, the county contracts with the district to help in situations like this. The district can do public education, give people advice on soil erosion and how to reduce erosion and runoff. So, yeah, they're a great resource as well, the district.
But do you take their recommendations into consideration?
We review the recommendations. The Development Review Division, who is kind of the technical branch for the review of the subdivisions, yes, they take their recommendations into consideration.
Anything else? Any other comments? All right. Will someone move that we approve this plat?
So moved.
All right, Mr. Ellis, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Mr. Kuhn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Polly?
No.
Mr. Settley?
No.
Mr. Griffin?
No.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Leonard?
No.
Mr. Fromm?
Yes.
Motion is approved 5-4.
Okay.
The last application before us.
Explain to, do me a favor, explain to them what's the next steps.
Yeah. And again, as a reminder, this will go before the county council for their first hearing on it, Monday, August the 11th. So if you wish to go to that meeting as well, please do so. You may also contact your council people as well, and beforehand if you cannot make the meeting, or do both.
So you have another chance to voice your opinion, just so you know. We want you to know that.
All right, the final application before us is application 23471 by David R. Campbell, applicant/contract purchaser, David R. and Tammy S. Campbell, owners, and the Marion C. Alexander Revocable Trust, owner. The application requests a conditional use permit for a winery. The property is zoned A, agricultural district. The property, known as 1980 Schwady Road and 10253 Highway D, is located on the southwest corner of Schwady Road and Highway D. The property consists of 36.02 acres and is located within Council District 2. Staff?
Okay. Again, this is an application for a winery. And let me just start by saying that the property is zoned agricultural. The zoning would stay the same under this application. It's not being proposed to rezone to AT district, which is the agricultural tourism district. So it's, the application is for a conditional use permit for a winery without all of the other sorts of uses that sometimes can go along in the AT district. So they're not proposing to do restaurant, they're not proposing to do lodging, things like that. So I guess maybe I should start with the zoning, the agricultural district, and the intent of the agricultural zoning district. And I like to always keep coming back to this. The intent of the district, and this is according to the Unified Development Ordinance, is to provide for agricultural, recreational, wildlife, open space, farming, river-oriented uses, and related uses, and to discourage premature and disassociated urban development. Now, having said that, it lists all these permissive uses in the agricultural district, but also has a whole list of what they call conditional uses. And just for the audience, conditional use means that it's something that could be located or approved within the agricultural zoning district if it is not does not harm the neighbors in a way that is going to be unreasonable. And just to give you a few examples, let's see. Conceivably, conditional use permits in the agricultural district could allow, say, an airport, a campground, a quarry, a hospital, a private club, or a wind farm. But again, it's conditional. It's all based on the details. So tonight, I would say your consideration, I expect, would be, will its design and operation of this proposed use ensure that the use will be a good neighbor? So I'd like you to please keep that question in mind during your consideration. The proposal is to establish a winery and to relocate an existing wine production from facility located within the city of St. Charles to this site, and so that it would have both vineyards and wine production. Additionally, it would be open to the public And so you'll see parking lots that are proposed to serve the buildings that are shown. When I first looked at the site plan, honestly, I was a little surprised to see that the parking lots, and there's two different buildings, and they're both towards the edges. I think the agricultural zoning district contemplates having wineries and similar uses more in the interior of the lot. However, I would say in the interior of the lot, it's divided by a pretty deep creek. So if you discount the creek, the flood zone that's runs through there, and also try to preserve the trees, you're left over with these two areas to the sides of the creek, one to the west, one to the east. There's also two existing water features, and the applicants say they'd like to take advantage of those by having the buildings close to those water features. And then additionally, you have a minimum of 5 acres of grapes required for any winery. So when you add up the 5 acres of grapes, the flood zone in the middle of the creek, the parking lots and the buildings, essentially that in part dictates where the buildings are going to be located. So on the left, you see the red building. That would be phase 1. You'll note that it has a parking lot behind it. It's not at the corner of DD and Schwady Road, but please do note that there is a neighbor, a house, adjoining or close by where the parking lot would be located, and I think it's the Peels, if I have it right. You may also want to note that the house, based on the topography, the house is going to be sitting up higher. It's towards the back, but it's roughly 25 feet higher in elevation than where the parking lot and the winery would be located. So to deal with that, the applicants are proposing a landscape strip, and in the latest plans I've seen also a wall as well right on the property line. But additionally, county staff is recommending a series of conditions for your consideration that would help address questions about noise and impacts on neighbors and et cetera. I think, let's see here. So something for you to consider, phase 1, the parking lot that you see for phase 1 on the left, that's proposed to be 155 parking spaces. Actually, the minimum required by zoning ordinance would be 131, so they're providing more parking than the minimum that's necessary. And you might also note that even of that 131, 25 spaces are for a future phase down the road, should the facility be expanded. So we're really talking about for the first phase 1, they really would need 101 spaces, and they're providing 155. So considering that, one option that you might have as a condition, in fact, we addressed that somewhat we addressed that in the report, is reducing the parking down to the minimum required, pulling it away from the common property line, widening the landscape area, and even if you feel like it would be beneficial or necessary, potentially wrapping around some of the landscaping around the southeast corner of that parking lot to help preserve some of the neighboring property owners' enjoyment of their property. You have to keep in mind there could be a number of impacts on neighbors potentially, and I know the owners will be able to address this better than I can, but potentially you could have, with outdoor seating, sometimes they have PA systems, sometimes there's music piped outdoors. Even with just a parking lot, when people park their cars, the beep on the automatic locks, and you hear this beep beep. Those are sorts of things that sometimes come with uses like this, that in a commercial setting might be perfectly normal and perfectly typical and acceptable. But we should also consider that this is an agricultural zoning district and there are some houses nearby. So I guess I would leave it to, if you have any questions for me, I can try to answer those. Yes, sir.
For everyone else, I was here, has to do with wineries. I was here Monday for the work session and final passage of amended substitute bill 4087, which it has lots to do with wineries and also the AT tourism. And you said this is agricultural. I looked in your analysis on the second page, even though the property is not written as an agritourism area in the 2025 master plan, staff finds some of the goals in the area were inspirational in the development of the criteria of the UDO for the winery conditional use permits as spelled out in section 405-520F, paragraphs 2-4. The ordinance provides direct architectural designs for the structure and preservation of the vistas and so forth and so on. I see from a letter that we received tonight from the applicants, clearly spelled out that they're going to have a restaurant, they're going to serve food. I'm looking at my UDO, unless I've misplaced something, under agricultural uses, under conditional uses, I don't see any restaurants. It's not, doesn't work. I do see it under the AT district. But that being said, but for everybody else here, because they've been down to our area Monday, and for everybody else out, all the winery owners, and there's probably two groups. There's a UVA, which is actually, or an AVA, which consists of Montel, Augusta, Mount Pleasant, and Balducci. You have the AT wineries, Chandler Hill, Wine Country Gardens. Actually, Yellow Dale Rollins, who owns down in, he's in the commercial district down in Augusta, so he could care less. But that being said, we're still talking about wineries. And I think a lot of their concerns that were expressed, which I think everybody else should hear, is I'm not against wineries. I think most of the people that spoke Monday, including I think all the attorneys for St. Charles County were here, wanted to keep the wineries under control in the area in the AT district down in that area of St. Charles County. And I live very close to this area, I drive it all the time. I've driven that road a lot longer than you've owned Little Hills Winery. And it's to me, it's a very dangerous situation. They had a head-on truck, all the quarry trucks coming down Double D, and I'm sure you don't know this, Robert, but they don't go on 94 because the Missouri Highway Patrol can set up scales, and most of them, 90% of them, are overweight, and their equipment would be flagged with bad brakes and so forth and so on. But that being said, where they're coming down that road, it's a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. I know I'm saying this because I think you're sort of leaning for it. I'm leaning against it, and for a lot of reasons. They had a head-on last year with a Quiver River truck, $175,000, boom, and the quarry truck won. There was a gal killed up there in the corner. That traffic is not going to go away. And even with two ingresses and egresses, even if it's in phase one, phase two, coming off Double D and Schwady Road, I think I like the winery, I just think it's going to be in the wrong location. But I don't understand where you have, they're going to have a restaurant. I don't see that in my UDO where that's a conditional use for an agriculture. I can see it for an AT permissible use, but I don't see it in agricultural.
Yeah.
So am I missing something here?
I can address that. Under the current definition of winery, it explicitly mentions that service of food is part of a winery in that definition. However, it doesn't allow a restaurant. And so I've spoken to the applicant several times on this specific question, and they're indicating that yes, they are going to serve food in order to offer food and wine pairings, but they are not going to operate a restaurant. And so a restaurant, in our eyes, would be a second primary use, and so it would not be allowed. And then also, additionally, in the proposed conditions, we're just stating outright that a restaurant would not be allowed.
Well, in the revised, which is on Steve Elman's desk for signing, on Section 2, Section C 25, a restaurant is association with permitted or conditional use except for single-family residence, notwithstanding in Section 405.510, any restaurant operating under a conditional use permit issued before November 27th of 2012, and that has continuously operated as a restaurant from that date to the date of enactment. I think the definition of a restaurant, is it a restaurant or is it in a separate building, but they're going to have a restaurant. I mean, you can call it, a restaurant's a restaurant, whether it's, there's a winery next door, in my mind. So it's a wordsmith legalese term here. But I don't have that in my conditional use as a, it's not written in my UDO, so that's why I was asking that.
Right.
And this may have been signed already, so this could be the new
Well,
guidelines for a winery.
What you're referring to is under consideration by the county council right now. It's not yet approved. They may or may not approve it, but if they do, let's just say it is approved and it's signed, someone in the agricultural zoning district with a winery could come back and apply for a conditional use permit for a restaurant. That's true, if that ordinance is signed. But again, they'd have to go back through the process, go back through a public hearing, and it had to be reviewed and approved by the county council.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Yeah. Mr. Lund?
What is the parking lot going to be, paved, rock, do we know?
Well, there's visitors coming, and I'm certain we would require that it be paved.
Where's the water going then?
We're going to have to approve a stormwater plan for this site. Although I would say there is a water feature right next to the parking lot, so I can envision it going into that water feature.
Any other questions of staff? All right. The applicants in the room that wish to come forward, please do so. Can you raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you state your name and address for our record, please?
My name is David Campbell. I live at 6637 Apple Rock Drive in O'Fallon, Missouri.
All right, go ahead.
Good evening. As I indicated, I am the owner of Little Hills Winery and Restaurant. My wife Tammy and I have owned Little Hills Winery for the past 17 years. Little Hills Winery, or Winery Little Hills, has actually been in existence for nearly 40 years. It was one of the original 25 wineries of the state of Missouri. We've had the opportunity to be in that history for the last 17. When we purchased 17 years ago, Winery Little Hills was not a wine-producing winery. Didn't produce a drop of wine in St. Charles. The gentleman was making wine for us for the first 5 years of our ownership. During those 5 years, we chose to make our own wine. In fact, I think my winemaker, Phil, is in the back. We began to lease the Cavern property, which you'll hear tonight. It's at 300 North Water Street. If you're not familiar with what Cavern property, we'll kind of talk about that. But we hired a winemaker, and we've been making wine now in St. Charles for the last decade. We've been making our own wine. Now, the Cavern property dates back as an old brewery back to the mid-1800s. It's very small. The caverns are man-made. It's not real conducive to making a large amount of wine. I think every storm that comes, we're out there mopping up because the caverns leak. We're not able to use all the caverns because there's not fire exits in the old caverns. So we're really limited there to how much wine we can make. We produce about 4,000 cases a year, which less than half of those are produced in the caverns. The other half, or over half, is really produced outside of St. James, Missouri. So you can see already that we're a pretty disjointed area. We have I'm not sure if that, thank you. Do we have, I think we have a slide for that, don't we?
You can put it on that
Right
little
here.
device next to you there, and we can put
Right
that
here?
on the big
I'm
board.
not real technical.
There we go.
And- Okay.
Upside down.
You can turn it around, please.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay, so the Cavern property is right here in historic St. Charles. The restaurant is located at 501 South Main Street, and our wine shop is located at 710 South Main Street. So we're all in historic St. Charles. The customer that has been, for our last 17 years, when they come down to St. Charles, where is your winery? Well, if you're at the wine shop, we have a tasting room, and we have pictures on the wall of the caverns, and we say, well, this is our wine shop. But at the restaurant, 35 years ago, there's a little cellar, and you get to the cellar by going through the floor of the men's room. So it's not real conducive to getting folks down to visit the cellar at the restaurant location. Now, if you're at the restaurant location, well, where's your winery, where's your vineyard? You can see that we're very disjointed, and we don't have the ability to have vineyards down in St. Charles. I would assume that the Parks Department wouldn't appreciate coming out in the morning and seeing us plant at New Frontier Park. So we have tried to grow, and we are growing, and we are at a point in our production that we need to begin to produce more wine. I've been a resident out in Ward 2 now for almost 20 years with several properties closer to the 94 area that you indicate. So I'm very familiar with that area out there for 19 years. This parcel that Tammy and I purchased about 8 years ago is at the corner of DD and Schwady. We're also closing on the Alexander property that's just north, is that right? South, thank you, just south of our farm. Well, I'm not good with north, south, east, and west. We're at a point where we feel that this is going to be a great project for us. As you can see, we are all over the place. Our vineyards in Eolia, Missouri, and we're able to streamline. We're able to provide a destination winery. Like I said, Winery Little Hills was here 40 years ago, and we're hoping that this project really puts that back together. We're able to produce wine to be self-sufficient down here in St. Charles. I was hoping that all these people here were here not to hear that we're closing down the restaurant in St. Charles, but we're not. We're not leaving St. Charles. We're keeping the restaurant. We're keeping the wine shop. We love historic St. Charles. We'll still keep the cavern property because it's smaller, can utilize our barrel aging facility a little bit easier for us than our large tanks. We can't get a tank any larger than this area here, so we're very constricted by how much we can produce. I'd like to close before I get a team up here that kind of provides you with a little bit more detail on the project. I'm a neighbor out here, and I've had an opportunity to talk with I think 5 out of the 6 neighbors that are touching the 2 properties. And I've had an opportunity to chat with them, and as I've said to all of them, I would be concerned as well about some of the concerns they have about, noise or lighting or traffic or food, music. I would be the same. I would have the same concerns. I think that my team, we put together a good project to eliminate those type of intrusions, and I think the other part of that is, as we're building this project, the Alexander property, I'm going to be living there. And I think I told one of my neighbors just the other day is, I don't get a whole lot of time off as a business owner, but when I do, when I'm sitting out on that deck, hoping that we'll be able to build that phase, I don't want to be interfered with either. I don't want to be interfered with music and loudness and noise, because I'm also a neighbor to my own project. And I try to convey that to all of them when I chatted with them. So I'd like to, with your permission, introduce my architect, Chi, and he's only told me to call him Chi, but his name's this long, so he doesn't trust me with saying the rest of his name, but I'd like to turn it over to my architect.
I have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
Where are you getting your grapes now?
We get our grapes all over the state of Missouri.
How much of your grapes are you getting from St. Charles County?
I would have to, that would be a question my winemaker would be able to answer for us.
Any other questions real quick? All right, go ahead, bring them up.
Thank you.
Can you raise your right hand for us?
Yes, just
Sure.
a second.
Technology. Isn't that wonderful?
All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Can you state your name and address for our record, please?
Yes, my name is Chi Fang Z Chang, 6317 Clayton Road, Clayton, Missouri.
All right.
Yeah, David referred me to by Chi, and if you do ask me questions, Chi would be just fine,
All right.
because the rest of it's too long, and that's without the middle name, too. You may not know me, but I'm hoping that, let's see if this thing works. Okay. This is a imagery of a vineyard, and it's got water feature and all that, and this is what we're trying to portray. When I see Little Hill Winery, it needs to have a hill, or it doesn't reflect it. So this is the image we're trying to convey to customer coming to site, okay? We have St. Charles Engineering Survey on the team and myself, and we have kind of orchestrated the so-called master plan, and I think Robert did a great job in terms of explaining the site of the difficulty and challenges we have. I hope the presentation here will kind of give you an idea of the sensitivity we went through to really understand the site, and it's a wonderful site. You need to look at the positiveness of it and enhance it, and that's what we like to do. But before you do that, I know you guys don't know who I am, but I'm very familiar with St. Charles County and have done many projects here, and hopefully you'll recognize some of the buildings more so than who I am. And so these are projects in the St. Charles County, and so on, okay? So anyway, that's not what we're here for. We're here to discuss about the site and the property, and to me, it's exciting to look at this piece of ground and see what we can develop out of it. So if you look at, this is an area with a boundary of the 36 acres, and it's got wonderful features. It's got 2 water features on 2 property, but now it's 1 property. And if you look at the area of the trees, it's got wonderful, forestry. To me, it's nice and plush. What I like to throw in there is, this is the topography of the site, and it moves in and out, and also you have the creek and the floodway, so that pretty much divides, as Robert had indicated. And so if you take the trees, the water feature, the creek and everything, what we hope to do is preserve as much of what's there and kind of integrate the design with the nature that's out there. Instead of coming in, bulldozing everything, we like to take what's there and create this image that you saw earlier. What I'd like to do is share with you the different phases so you get a bigger picture. This is phase 1A, 1B, and phase 4, okay, in that quadrant. And then we're looking at phase 2 at that quadrant, and then phase 3 at that quadrant. So keeping that in mind, there's reasons why we are taking it step at a time. Okay. So the first pond that you see there is a typical, Missouri pond where you have built up a dam and so and so. So when you're driving by, you kind of recognize, there's a water feature up there. Well, what we like to do is use that as a backdrop and drop the first vineyard at this spot. And what we like to do is readjust the grading that's in the open ground and kind of build a little mound, so there's a hill. So when you take the vineyards across the grain, it really accentuate that, that this is what this is, Little Hill Vineyard. So with that, as you approach the property, we have View A, which you have flyers on, but I like to explain the visual, okay? You see that it's a winery, but we like to share with you the sensitivity we went through to get to this point. So View A is taken from DD and looking at the existing. Okay, this is what we have, the existing tree. We're trying to keep as much as what's there. Right now, the house is sitting higher than it wants to be, so we're hoping that we can grade that down and move some of the dirt and move a few things around so we can create. And on this, let's see, on this left side here, this is where the pond is. You can't see it too well, but what we want to do is create the vineyard through there. And so transforming it into this view. Okay, and this is the building on first phase sitting up there. And these seating areas and all that, and the windows, they're all facing DD versus the back where the residents are. So this is really where the audience is. So with this view, then we would go to View 2, which is we're identifying the entrance at this location. Coming in, after you view this, you're looking at the vines, and then we like to have the entry at this point before the creek. And this entrance will be incorporated working with MoDOT on sightline, traffic, and making it a safe entry point. Now, we're thinking this is an entry point rather than exiting, because then you control the traffic going in. And then try to disperse the traffic where it's a little safer. This here, you're traveling at high speed. We figure coming in will be all right and not exiting from that point. So all the control will be here. And while we're doing that, we like to take advantage of the positioning. There's a tree line along here, and we like to hug this tree line along there as part of the entrance drive. And then you're hugging on the other side vineyards. And then you take the road into the trees, and we'll move on from there. But in terms of an entrance to make this a unique destination point, we have created this View 2, View B, I mean. View B, this is what's there right now, and we like to create an arbor with vines and a welcoming entrance, so that when you come through here, you know you are coming to a different destination. And as you drive through this entrance, you'll be hugging these tree lines, and then you'll maneuver in. As we look at, I invite you to follow me on this tour a little bit. It may be a little hard to see, but at this point, you're driving along through here, parallel to a tree line, and then you come in, climbing into the path, and then back out next to the vineyard here along the water feature, and you arrive at the destination, the phase 1 of the building. And we're trying to work within the grading and contour so we minimize ripping out trees. And hopefully we can salvage as much of the trees except for the roadway coming through here. And when you arrive at this destination, then this is where phase 1 of the building. The building is oriented toward this way, looking at this water feature, and with outdoor area facing DD. And the parking, as indicated, is at this position of the building. And what we try to do is maintain as much of this existing tree line as possible. So when you're at this point, we like to share with you what this, if you're sitting here looking out, what are you looking at? And so this view C is roughly the existing view right here, and we like to transform to something like that. It's a little hard to see with the lights. And then this is the entrance drive, and we're trying to do a water feature off the pond or so, and to make it look very natural setting. So then we have this view D, which is out here in near the DD Street, Highway DD, looking back at the building, and that's the submitted information. We'll be using natural material as specified for winery architectural features with shingle, stones, and wood. And so from this point on, we move on to the phase two, 3 and 4, which is coming across over the creek with a bridge and tying that in and running it through the narrowest point of the floodway and coming through and incline up the hill into this fourth phase. And the fourth phase will be pretty much the position of the existing structure that's there, and we're orienting toward the water feature pond. We're hoping to work with MoDOT also to look at this traffic sight line. Right now, the existing drives through here, which is really should not be a drive at all, but I think at this high point position, which is really a little farther away from this intersection, I think sightline wise, you can see fairly clear on entrance and exit. And we'll be working with MoDOT with traffic study to see if that's a good location or not. But this is pretty much, if you look at the feature, we're trying to nestle everything in with the existing without tearing up the natural beauty of the site. And then coming back, and this is how phase 1, phase 3, and phase 2 and 3 comes in. So that's pretty much the presentation. And we have St. Charles Engineering, who has been working through some of the technical details, and we're able to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Chi before we let him sit down? All right. Thank you. Yep. Can you raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you state your name and address for our record, please?
Michael Miners, St. Charles Engineering and Surveying, 801 South Fifth Street, St. Charles, Missouri, 63301.
All right, go ahead.
One of the questions that came up is it possible for me to use this?
Yep.
Overhead, there you go. This is the site plan that was submitted. The entrance on Schwady Road was questioned for site distance, and they asked us to bring this evening a site distance study, which we did, and we actually do comply with the required site distance in both directions from our current entrance. Sure. both to the left and to the right of the actual entrance point for the Phase 1 construction. So we did submit this to the staff. One of the items that I wanted to address slightly was, not that I know that this is a big issue, but we had proposed 155 parking spaces with the proposed development of Phase 1. We had indicated the requirement was 131. We were very sensitive to the adjacent property owners. We had proposed more of a decorative fence, sound wall, something that would help with some of the sound and some landscaping. But certainly we'll abide by whatever you think is necessary. Regarding the entrances this is the exhibit that it's not as clear on this, but the site distance at the entrance for the house that's near Phase 3 is poor. We're suggesting an alternate location at the ridge, but that'll completely go through MoDOT. We're in the process of working out a traffic study. All of our entrances will be approved by MoDOT. The object is to bring people in off of Highway DD in the entrance that she had shown that was near the creek, and filter them out off Schwady in Phase 1 so that they're actually potentially going back towards Highway 40 by turning left on the Schwady. So we've had a bit of a presentation. We'll step back and let you all think about it and ask questions. I'm sure you have.
Any questions? All right. If there's anybody else in the room that wishes to speak on this application, now would be the time to do so.
Good evening.
Can you raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
So help me God.
All right. Can you state your name and address for our record, please?
My property is 1900 Schwady Road, right next door to the one.
And your name?
Your name, please.
Jan Peel, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
We've lived out here for 18 years and have enjoyed St. Charles County and the view of what we have seen for 18 years. The few things that I have an issue with, can we put up a slide or something? Here. What my husband and I have an issue with is,
No, they'll take care of it in the back. There you go.
oh, okay. This is our property. I have an issue with this parking lot on the adjacent property lines. 155 cars or more a day coming and going and coming off of Double D, curving around like this, being very intrusive on our property, shining lights at night, coming around and going to the parking lot. Now, I did talk to David about it, and he said that he would see what he could do about moving the parking lot and maybe the road coming into the winery. You know, if he was a good neighbor, he would have submitted plans, talked to us before he submitted the plans to planning and zoning, and not just to me, to all the other adjoining neighbors. You know, to me, that was not a good neighbor just to like sneak this in behind our backs.
Yeah.
Can show us exactly or close where your house sits on that track?
Our house sits right here.
Okay, thank you.
And it's not even, it might be 600 feet from the property line, if that.
Thank you.
It's probably not even that. And, you know, we're not used to having Double D at our back door like that, with all the traffic coming in to the winery. Let me see what else. And then the second phase 2, 3, 4, whatever this phase is, where the property back here where he has these walking paths, my other concern is people that are out on the walking path and decide to take a tour off the path and wind up in my backyard. That's my other concern when that gets done. If you have any suggestions, the 6 foot fence that he's talking about here, and putting that all the way down the property line, that's not going to cover the sound. And if you plant trees, it's going to take years for those trees to actually get big to cover so that you can't see my house. If you look in these pictures here, this is our house right there. You can see it in every one of his beautiful architect pictures that our house is in view of Double D. Here's another one up close. Here's another one right there. This is our house right there. I guess that's all I have.
All right. Any questions? All right, thank you. All right, if there's anybody else, okay. All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, can you state your name and address for our
Yes,
record, please?
Kevin Hales, 867 Highway DD, Defiance, Missouri.
All right, go ahead.
It's about, I live about 4 miles south of this proposed project. First off, I'd like to state that Gary expressed most of the safety concerns pretty well. I want to add one more, that recently, through lots of county money, state money, I assume too, we have just widened our shoulders out there. They're working on it presently right now, which is only going to enhance the rate of speed that the traffic will go through there, because with the narrow roads the way they are now, they go pretty fast. It's just only going to exacerbate the situation. This certainly won't help. The other issue is, adjoining this property is Bromelsick Park, which all of us in the county here enjoy. I know my wife and I use it almost daily. We have the dog park out there, etc. This particular venture, if you ask me, goes totally against what the whole Bromelsick Park is supposed to represent, a place for the citizens of St. Charles County to go, have greenery, quiet, serenity. It's a farm community. So we've all vested in Bromelsick Park, basically. The family that donated that property to the county, I'm sure they never envisioned anything like this ever happening. So their beautiful property that they actually gave to us, correct? I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So with that said, we're going to negate everything we've done, and actually are doing, because they're doing a second phase right now on the south end of this proposed site, which hopefully will carry plenty of St. Charles County citizens into it to use and enjoy. But now we're going to have to fight with, and after living out there for 37 years, I can tell you, I see the way the traffic drives to and from the wineries. living on Double D, a Defiance resident. It's not pretty. It really isn't. So I guess you can surmise that I'm totally against this. And if nothing else, for the park itself, I think it's total misuse of the property. Thank you.
Just to
Any
add what
question?
he said about people that have been out there, there's a very unique part of St. Charles County. You can overlap all the landmass south of Highway 40. It will cover all of St. Charles City, largest landmass. There are only 3 roads of ingress and egress. 3, unless you come to Washington, Missouri. That's 94, Double D, and Z. That's it. You have to go south of the Missouri River and come in the back door. So it's a very unique piece of property. So when he mentions traffic, that is a concern. It's not like K&N, it's not like there isn't any other place in the state of Missouri that has the traffic problem that we have. And
Correct.
it is the largest landmass in St. Charles County.
And I might add, just north of there, we have a middle school.
2.
And there's a high school, brand-new high school, and a grade school in that area.
You have 2 new schools.
This isn't conducive to what this property should be used for. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Can you raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, can you state your name and address for our record, please?
My name is Chris Wimmer, and I live at 4354 Wilson Road, which is just right around the corner, about 3/4 of a mile from the development. And I just want to thank people for what they've said so far. Mr. Griffin nailed it. One, it's not in the UDO at all. This is not consistent with anything the county wants in this neighborhood. There's already tremendous safety issues on the road. Even though they have added a little bit of shoulder, it's not really a shoulder, it's just a place for the stripe. The quarry trucks nibble that road away routinely, and it's dangerous to travel. Adding people drinking wine and pulling out onto DD, you can just imagine. And then as Mr. Hale said, again, it is just a bucolic area, and you saw the pictures. I mean, that's a massive structure, 2 of them, and massive parking areas. And as Mrs. Peel said, she's not just an alarmist when she says people wandering off of here onto the road. Our little narrow piece of property juts into Brummelsek Park, and we weekly have people leaving the park and wandering through our property. They think they're in a dog walk area. They let their dogs off the leash. They eat our chickens. I mean, it is a problem. People leaving these trails and things onto other people's property. That's just not fair. But the main thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know Mr. Campbell, but when he stood here, he stated his address not as DD or Schwady Road. He says he's lived there for 8 years, but he states his address somewhere else. And he said, you know, he wouldn't want to sit on his deck on this new piece of property and see this development destroy his view and his quiet. But that's just a temporary situation. He's got plan A, B, C, zone, you know, whatever, to eventually take down that other house and have it be another building and another big parking area. So I think it's a little disingenuous to use the, you know, the neighbor word there. He's a developer that wants to come in and change the use of this property. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
I'm going to turn in my card in just a second because I made some notes to myself.
Okay.
I won't walk away without giving you my
We'll
card.
allow it.
Thank you.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, can you state your name and address for our record,
I
please?
can. My name is Kelly Dornfeld, and I live at 4354 Wilson Road, which is just around the corner from this proposed development. And I do have some safety concerns. I have 2 children, one of whom will soon be getting his driver's license, and I have concerns as a mom just with him driving in that area as it is, but putting drunk people on the road is a huge concern for me. And in addition to just the additional traffic of potentially 150 cars or so with this phase, with the large parking lot. So just selfishly, as a mom, I'm worried about my child driving with drunk drivers in that area. It is my only home. I don't have numerous homes. So this is home. Every day I'm there and want to continue to enjoy the environment there and not have to have added worries for the safety of my family in my own backyard. It seems disingenuous at best to say that the need for this place was to increase wine production. That's great. Then a vineyard would be an appropriate agricultural use for this zoning, to have a vineyard on this land, something that isn't a nuisance for noise, something that isn't invasive, something that isn't increasing traffic and potential drunk drivers on the area. So I can see using a vineyard for the agricultural zoning, but the huge building that abuts the neighbors, that doesn't seem very neighborly. I heard the architect talk about the beautiful plush landscape, which is now being removed and paved for the view of the neighbors. I've been heard that the development is very sensitive to the adjacent property owners, but I have not seen that portrayed in the plans as such. So I hope that planning and zoning will be more conscientious and more sensitive to the neighbors in that area, because it doesn't seem that this plan does that. That's it. Thank you, and I will leave my card.
All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, can you state your name and address for our record, please?
Yes, hi, I'm Tanya Hales. My address is 4156 Huffmeyer Road, Wentzville, Missouri. I'm about approximately 1.5 miles from the proposed development. I share all the same concerns about the road traffic and potential drunk driving that my neighbors have so eloquently expressed. Additionally, I would like to point out that there are currently bus stops along Highway DD, as well as Schwede Road and Wilson Road, and that children from the age of 6 up through high school are getting on and off buses along this roadway that's already very congested with a high rate of speed. And my fear is that adding additional traffic, because these children will be getting off the bus during their potential business hours, is extremely dangerous and really concerns me as a parent. I have 3 young children in school. Additionally, our school district, Francis Howell, starts early in the year, so our children will be going to school during their business hours, as well as when it's beautiful outside in August and our children are trying to rest to get prepared for their school day the next day. They may be having bands and lights and a lot of traffic when my children are trying to rest. So I have concerns about changing our agricultural rural area into a commercial property with that type of traffic. Also, a large concern for me is the elevation change that Mr. Chi proposed with moving hills, and I don't know, that large rolling tree line looked somewhat like a cliff to me. I'm just a simple St. Charles County resident. I don't know how you bring in cliffs of that nature, but it does concern me with the water runoff and the impact, not just to the adjoining properties, a lot of whom have livestock in the area, but also the impact that it will have to Bramble Sick Park and the trails and the playgrounds and the pavilions that are at a lower elevation than the property where this is proposed to develop. Additionally, the gentleman from the St. Charles engineering firm, he mentioned that the exit ramp, the exit of the parking lot onto Schwede, if you turn left, you get to have access to Highway 40 as opposed to putting traffic out onto Double D. So I've lived in this area for over 15 years, and the only way I'm aware of currently to get from turning left on Schwede out of this parking lot to get to Highway 40 is to go even further into residential areas and take Schwady to Huffman to Hopewell to Highway N to Highway 40. I don't consider that a very sound route for people that have been drinking and are not familiar with our roads. And the fact that that's a much longer route and puts you further west on Highway 40 doesn't seem realistic to me. I don't think that that's going to diffuse the dangerous situation of all this traffic turning left on Highway Double D. They're going to go right on Schwady and still turn left on Double D. So that does not do anything to diffuse the dangerous traffic concerns, in my opinion. Finally, I really appreciate Mr. Campbell's concern and wanting to prosper his business, and I recognize the good of that for St. Charles County. But I don't understand how building a property even further from your existing businesses on Main Street help with the disjointed nature of your current business. It seems to add to that situation, in my opinion. But also, as a St. Charles County resident, I would like to see perhaps instead of destroying our beautiful agricultural area with all these parking lots and added traffic, perhaps his abundant resources could be used in rebuilding those caverns to make them more safe and help to bring more vitality into the St. Charles City area that so many other business owners have been working so diligently to build up and make it more vibrant. So those are the things that I would like to have considered as part of this discussion. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the room that wishes to speak on this? Can you raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, can you state your name and address for our record,
My name
please?
is Art Abram, and I live at 4220 Wilson Road, which is basically in the middle of Brummelsack Park. And my wife and I moved out there 16 years ago because it is zoned for 3-acre minimum residential property. There was really no commercial use of any of the land in the area. I realize you're calling it agricultural use, but a restaurant, a winery, wine sales, 155-car parking lot, to me, is commercial. If I wanted to live next to a winery, I would have bought a property in Augusta or Defiance and lived in the city. Also, for traffic, everybody's talking about the traffic on Double D. We live on Wilson Road. The traffic increased on Wilson Road by Brummelsack Park is incredible. In the last year, we've had 2 telephone poles taken down completely. Luckily, the people had minor injuries. We had a car or a truck roll down Schwady Road to the point where the rear axle of the truck, of a pickup truck, dislodged and ended up on one side of the road. His truck landed on the other side of the road. And again, he was not injured because he was so drunk that he bounced out of the truck and ran into the park. And they searched in the middle of the night with helicopters to try to find him. My fence line is along Wilson Road. I just had to replace, in the last year, 25 feet of fence because people that are unfamiliar with these roads are driving through there. You talk about the exit going out of Double D. People are going to cut through Wilson Road and go out other directions. When they come out that exit on Schwady Road, it's a very dangerous road. It's got hills that you can't see on the other side. It's curved, and it's just a really bad spot for a winery, and I don't understand. The gentleman's bought the home to live in it. We keep forgetting the fact that that's a residential spot that he is going to develop. There's 2 residential homes there, and he wants to tear down 2 residential homes and build a huge winery, so we're totally against it. All my neighbors are here. I haven't talked to a single person that lives in that area, and I know most of the people. I haven't found a single person that says, hey, this is a great idea. Thank you for your time.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I sure do.
Okay, name and address for our record, please.
Yes, I'm Joel Lovelace. I live at 1766 Schwady Road. It's approximately 3 plats up from the proposed winery. My problem is, it's not the winery, but the restaurant and the parking lot. When I go to work sometimes in the evening, which is around 5 to 6 o'clock, when I go up Highway DD, when I get to O'Day Creek, which is approximately a half mile from 40, I'm sitting there in line waiting to get onto Highway 40. MoDOT may have a problem with this, with the proposed egress of this commercial endeavor, because that's basically what it is. And I don't believe it is a winery. I believe it is a restaurant, because there is on the curve that they were talking about on DD, where the Alexanders presently have their entrance. This is an off-camber highway. In other words, instead of going around like this, it tilts this way. And our neighbor, Larry Kohler, has had several people get killed on that. He's right across from the Alexanders. And they've ended up in his front yard. Some of them were dump trucks from the quarry at Defiance, at the corner of 94 and DD. My problem is, I've checked at most of the wineries in Defiance and in Augusta. Augusta has a unique situation. They have a city has 300 parking spaces with a shuttle. It takes them all around the town so they don't destroy the quaintness, and also to keep the traffic down. Obviously, this cannot be done in this situation, but the winery, I believe, will cause a situation, especially on Schwady Road, because as my neighbor from over off of Wilson said, on Schwady Road, just a mile up the road from the winery, there is another off-camber curve that has to be negotiated at 10 miles an hour. If you do it any faster, we've had quite a few deaths out there on this curve right by Hoffman and Hoffman and Schwady Road. And this is the way you get to Highway N. So coming in from that entrance there, I just believe that this type of endeavor, if it was just a winery, a vineyard, I'd have no problem with it. But with the additional of the parking spaces, which by the way, I did a survey of all the other wineries in Defiance, and they were all about 98 to 112. I would suspect that was probably established before the council or the planning and zoning actually made changes to a minimum of 133. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the room that wishes to speak? Okay. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, can you state your name and address for our record, please?
Carol Owen, 1854 Schwady Road, Wentzville. I am one property away from the proposed winery, with Charlie and Jan Peel being in between me. I'd first like to give a nod to David Campbell for seeking neighbors out and actually talking to them personally. And I can see his vision, and he has a beautiful vision. I just don't feel that it belongs at that location. I've been at my property for 30 years, and we all live in our area because we all love nature, peace, quiet, serenity, living in harmony with the land and with each other. We have children, cows, horses, pigs, goats, and more. We have a close-knit neighborhood, we care for each other, and we have each other's backs. The addition of a winery in our agricultural/residential neighborhood seems to be in a position to totally change the complexion, or ambiance, if you will, of our neighborhood. I believe we'd all like to keep it just like it is now. There are plenty of wineries down the road and restaurants also. Speaking of roads, Mr. Griffin and Mr. Hale and many of our other neighbors have expressed the road problem very succinctly, and I totally agree about the speeding, the schools in the area, children, livestock. A lot of you recall just a few months ago, one of our local television stations had an article on Highway Double D. They actually said, Highway Double Dangerous is Highway Double D. A very bad road, even though they have improved the shoulders. Bromelseck Park, on the other hand, is conducive with why we're all there, as a lot of our neighbors have already spoken about. Concerns I have, like many of our other speakers, the lit parking lot of 155 cars that will be my view, as well as Charlie and Jan's view, the Peel's view. 155 cars parked along Schwady Road right there with a lit up parking lot is a very different view, feeling, and ambiance, not to mention noise level, than we have now. The bridge over the protected creek is a concern. Cars in and out, noise, late night noise. Liability, as someone else brought up, if someone who's had perhaps a little too much wine crosses into our property, we are liable if they fall and get hurt, which is pretty possible. And actually, that's about all I have to say. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Okay. Can you raise your right hand for us? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you state your name and address for our record?
Kelly Counts, 4150 Huffmeyer Road, Wentzville, Missouri. And I am, of course, like the rest of our neighbors, not in favor of this project. And as a neighbor, an adjoining landowner, it should not be our burden that the business has a lack of cohesiveness in their properties of producing wine. With that being said, I have worked EMS. I have picked up by helicopter several near-dead victims. And I think one of the deadliest parts on Highway Double D, in the EMS community, Highway Double D is the deadliest highway in our area, okay? So by helicopter, I have picked up some of the deadliest accidents at their proposed first entrance. I don't know if you could fill up a map there. And as an adjoining landowner, I don't feel like my safety should be jeopardized for the revenue or the benefit of a business owner when it was our choice to live in an agricultural residential area. This is area right here. Also, as another gentleman had pointed out, the grade of that highway is not what you would anticipate. It's the opposite grade where you actually have to maneuver a vehicle. Dump trucks have been tipped over there. People have been ejected. I have picked up mangled metal, picked up mangled bodies, near dead. And I hope that it's never one of my family members, but I certainly hope it's not somebody up here in favor of this decision. Secondly, as an adjoining landowner, I feel very fortunate that Bromelseck has kept its park as a passive park. I've had the opportunity to hunt with Bridle Spur before Bromelseck Park became Bromelseck Park and have horseback rode across Highway Double D. I wouldn't even consider riding across Double D because of the volume that has been increased in the traffic. As a bike rider, I ride down Schwady Road and have been near hit by somebody looking for a park entrance. Okay, and I don't feel like my safety should be jeopardized. I think that that our family and our adjoining landowners' safety will be jeopardized if a winery goes in, because the mix of alcohol, not familiar with your area that you're driving in, jeopardizes that. And then, again, will they be increasing the patrolling? Will St. Charles County increase the patrol of that area? Are there funds in place to increase the patrolling for looking for drunk drivers? And then lastly is the quiet, the noise. Living 1.5 miles away from this proposed venue, I certainly don't want to go out at night and hear a concert. I don't want to hear music or people lost frolicking in the adjoining park because they're lost and they think that they want to go for a joyride. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. Can you state your name and address for a record, please?
My name is Ruth Abishon Tremaine, and my mother and I live at 4302 Wilson Road, and we are very familiar with the Bromelsick Park. My mom and dad bought the property in 1964. She worked for Betty and Jack Bromelsick, and we became very fond of the area. Everybody has basically said what I need to say, and I'm a little bit nervous here, if you'll forgive me for that. When you're at Schwady Road, DD Junction, and you're making a left-hand turn to go to 40, you can look both directions, no vehicles. You get out on the road, and instantly somebody's on your rear end. People drive so fast on DD Highway. It's very, very unsafe. My mom and dad moved there when Wilson Road and Schwady was a gravel road. We hardly ever saw traffic. We had deer, all types of wildlife, raccoons, coyotes. Now we're really lucky if we see one deer. The population is just pushing it away. And for us, that's a loss. A few weeks ago, a lady was coming out of Bromelsick Park, and I don't believe she was drinking, but I can't say for sure, and she ran into the light pole right in front of her house. And she opened the door, and the dogs start running, and the horns start going off, and it took about 8 hours for the electric company to come out and straighten that up. If she had been drinking, she might have ran into her house, so that's a concern. At the site that's going to be the entrance to, or the exit from this property, a few weeks ago, there was a young man. He didn't understand where the road was and where the ditch line was, and I was coming back home from, 40 Highway, and he had backed into the ditch. He couldn't get out, and there were traffic, cars coming off of DD Highway trying to get on Schwady, and because he was blocked in this ditch, people were starting to just bunch up, and there was almost an accident. Another personal note, my brother-in-law was drunk a few years ago, and he was on DD Highway, and he ran off into one of the streams. And he didn't die that night, but he did die very near to DD Highway a few months later. I'm opposed to this project, very opposed to it. My mom's 95 years old. We love living there. We love our neighborhood. And I hope this project is rejected. Thank you very much.
All right. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak on this? All right. All right, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and so help you God?
I do.
All right, can you state your name and address for our record, please?
David Strutman, 4396 Huffmeyer Road. I'm not going to take up too much more time. I'm just going to probably stand up here and reiterate the same things everybody else has said. But I think one thing Mr. Myers said that was important is he asked, will the winery be a good neighbor? And I think you can understand from basically everybody who spoke here tonight that the winery will not be a good neighbor. I don't think there's anyone here that is for it, that would appreciate having a winery, and I think they've already previously mentioned why the winery is not something that we want there. So, like I said, I don't see a point in reiterating the fact about traffic safety in the park and the quietness of the community, the horses, the families that have lived there for many years. Obviously, there's a lot of emotion involved in this, and including me as well tonight. So I'll just ask of everyone here tonight to consider the people that live there and consider the business and the other opportunities that exist for this business and where it could possibly be located other than next to our homes. Thank you.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, so help you God?
I sure do.
Okay, name and address for our record, please.
1900 Schwede. My name is Charlie Peel. Dave, that's a beautiful place. I mean, what the rendering that you gave, I don't think it's really conducive to the area we live in. I guess my biggest concern is this, the term winery. To me, to my understanding, a winery is where you actually make wine. But the way this zoning and all that looks, a winery has become almost like a catch-all. You get your winery license or permit or whatever terminology is, then you add your tasting room, your restaurant, your event center, your lodging, and rather than just a place to produce wine, all of a sudden it becomes a different animal. You know, I wouldn't really have a problem if the man, you know, if he wants to produce his wine there, puts his, you know, grow his grapes. And I realize the difference between a vineyard and a winery. You know, to me, a vineyard is agriculture. The way that the wineries are promoted is more, you know, reminds me more of a restaurant, which is, to my understanding, a commercial business. You know, whether it be, you know, amphitheater or whatever they, you know, whatever they do in Augusta, that's what they do in Augusta. You know, I drive over the road. I've seen, you know, been there, done that type thing. Even locally, you know, we see the, I don't know, like a mouse under the doorway. You know, we come out with the riverboat casinos, and to my understanding, they were supposed to be up and down the river and promote river traffic and all. Well, now they're you know, I don't see any riverboats. I'm sorry, but I see that happen with the wineries, you know, and that you come in as one thing and all of a sudden it changes to something else. To my understanding, that's an agricultural area, okay, and your master plan is calling for agricultural as well as residential. I mentioned something to Joe Brazel, and he says, well, you can apply put a gas station there, but that don't mean you're going to get it. You know, so, you know, you can put a gas station there, you can put whatever, you know, it's really ultimately your decision to what happens on that corner. You know, I guess the point I want to make, I made it to Art and my wife. I says, you know, you can put a bikini on a hog and call it a beauty queen, but it's still a hog. You know, you can call it a winery, it's still going to be a restaurant, it's still going to be all these other things that really didn't start out to be, you know, and I guess that's all I have to say about, and I appreciate my first time of actually speaking to something in public, and I'm one of them guys that kind of stay in the background and mind my own business. So y'all have a good evening. Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? All right, seeing none, Mr. Campbell, you're more than welcome to come up and address the myriad of issues and people have come before us.
Thank you. Do I need to raise my hand
No,
again?
no,
Okay.
you're good.
I wrote down some of the comments that I heard, and I would hope that any questions that I may not have covered that the council here would ask. And if there's a question I can answer, I'll get my staff here to help me. I think one of the items that was brought up on the on the property was the walking trails and how they're just going to walk right into, like, I think, the Peels. There's a huge bluff there. The walking trails are down below. There's not going to be any way, unless they're a billy goat, to get up this grade into the backyard. But as we get to those phases, we will provide barriers, probably similar that we are recommending between our property and theirs. And I'm not sure what the county's position with Bromelstick is between the Bromelstick Park and the residents, because if they're coming in off the Bromelstick Park, I'm not sure what the county is recommending for a barrier, but we would certainly be looking at that as we grew and produced any of those walking trails. But they are way down below in the low area of the property. In regards to, I think, some of the renderings that you're seeing, and of course the Peels being right next door, they're seeing their house. And I'm not an architect or an engineer, but I believe that those renderings probably are not as accurate from a topographical standpoint. Am I right with that? With the pictures that you're seeing? Because we're going to be doing some grading, correct? So I'm not sure that they're going to be as noticeable as you might see from what you're seeing here, but I know the topographical study will help us determine how much more buffer and how we can make any intrusion be, least, visible to their property. We talked about drivers. I have a 16-year-old. Well, she's not quite 16, but she certainly acts like it. She's going to be driving here in December. I've raised 3 children. I understand. I've lived out there, like I said, for 19 years. And it isn't just out in our area. It's everywhere. Kids, it's dangerous out there, and our kids have to be very careful no matter where they're driving to. But I have children as well. There was talk about bands and concerts. I want you to know I am a musician. I've been a musician for over 40 years. I'm a jazz player, and my staff is tired of listening to jazz. But here in St. Charles, we're pretty conservative. We're pretty quiet. Out here in the in the area, it's not going to be allowed for any music. In fact, I think Carol, one of the folks that talked, her husband is a musician, and it seems like a great fit where there's just a couple folks. They're guitar players. They might have a vocal song. It's not like Battle of the Bands. That's not who I am. It's not where we are in St. Charles. There was talking about drinking and driving. There's a lot of drinking and driving. I'm not sure that I'm ever going to be able to stop that. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to do that. What I can do, though, is let you know that 17 years ago when I got liquor licenses, you got to understand that's a pretty grave and important responsibility to not only be able to acquire liquor licenses, but to be able to maintain those with integrity. All of my employees are taught proper liquor serving and how to identify those characteristics that they might see that would recommend them to not serve that person. I know here in St. Charles, I get more people upset with me for cutting them off than I do ever over-serving. Never made a dime for over-serving, and that's certainly not who we are and what we've built here in St. Charles. I think the food issue, and I've heard this restaurant term, and it's something that I've chatted with Mr. Myers about. I understand, here in St. Charles, it seems like we're a restaurant that makes wine. And, before Dave, the place down here didn't make wine. Once Dave came, we began to make wine. And because of our disjointedness, the destination is the restaurant. And I think the folks in St. Charles sometimes forget that we do make wine. What's very unique about this property and about what excites me about it is that I can become a winery. I can become a destination. I can be able to make wine out there. Our customers are looking for that one-stop shop. They're looking for to see, taste, feel, and touch. And that's what's made the wineries a unique venue and a unique entertainment for the visitors, for tourists. And although food is something that is available for a winery, it's not the focus. It is only to highlight. It's only to complement. You know, it's not a restaurant. People are coming out for the wine, and I look forward to the chance to be able to develop something that wine is the focus, music is a complement, food is a complement. Those aren't the reasons why people are coming out to visit Little Hills Winery. Take any other questions maybe that I wasn't able to answer? Sure, absolutely.
Question I asked the first time, I didn't know whether you had a time.
No, I haven't.
Do you remember the question?
Yeah, you asked me how many grapes we buy from St. Charles County.
Yeah, right now.
Harvest is this fall, and so there wouldn't be any grapes available till this fall. So it would be in our
From
plan.
St. Charles County, yes? Is that-
Right, harvest starts in August,
Okay,
and it runs through October.
last year?
I didn't buy any grapes here in
St.
St. Charles.
Part of the discussion on Monday, you know, you have to have 5 acres of vineyards, which takes 3 to 5 years to grow wine. Otherwise, the way the law is written, you have to buy 50% of your grape production from St. Charles County. As of Monday, I talked to all the other wine, there were no surplus grapes in St. Charles County available for sale. So if you opened a winery tomorrow, you're out of luck.
Yes.
So yeah.
And harvest starts, harvest is August through October.
I had one other question. In your letter, you said you were adding West Coast flavor profiles. So are you anticipating bringing in California wines, or?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think, I think you're in the wrong application for doing what you want to do. I think you should be in the AT district.
I'm not sure how to.
Well, I'm just
comment.
saying, well, you'll investigate it, but I think you're the wrong application.
Okay.
Okay.
Matt, wanted to address a few things.
Yeah.
Yeah, hang on one second.
David, how much you plan on spending on this location? Do you have a budget for this? You know what you guys are going to be spending on the property?
And and why do you ask?
Well, I want to know what your investment's going to be in this property. How much are you going to be spending? What are you putting on the line for a property like this?
Our property, our investment will be in the neighborhood of $2 to $2.5 million.
Okay. Good.
Are you going to be open year-round?
I plan on being open year-round. My discipline really comes from the standpoint of you need to be open for the customers. If you close and you have these, areas, I think your customers need to build a consistent and know and confidence that when they come out that you're going to be there. We've always been open all year down in St. Charles, although sometimes we just look at each other and probably should be closed. Certainly my goal is to stay open as long as we can through the winter, but there's a lot of snow that gets out there, and sometimes those roads don't get cleared, and I wouldn't want my employees to be risked to come out, and I certainly wouldn't want customers to come out in those type of weather.
And are you going to have entertainment nightly, weekends, days, nights? Do you have a plan for that yet?
Yeah, it's a great question. What we do here in St. Charles, we have a piano bar, and we have piano Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday, and then we have a guitarist that comes in on Friday and Saturday. So we would probably do something similar to that. We would have some very light music. What's nice is having my grandmother's grand piano down at the restaurant, so it gets a lot of use down there. But very, very casual jazz, light music.
Right. You said that you trained your staff in the alcohol area of the alcohol. Do you have a policy for, as far as being in a winery and just serving wine and no other alcohol, that there's a limit on what a person can be sold, or do you judge it on a per case basis with each person and try to judge them with their sobriety before they leave?
If I hear you right, I'm not sure that there's always the right cookie cutter approach. You know, when you walk in next to, Miss
A
Poley.
limit of a bottle or 2 bottles or, 1 bottle per person or, I don't know, I think something, up in Herman, there's some wineries that have that rule, I think.
We've always had limits here in St. Charles. We're really no different than how we approach, the winery, which people will say that's the restaurant. But that's certainly where the destination is in St. Charles. We would certainly operate our business with the same integrity that we've done for 17 years down here in St. Charles.
Are you planning any special events like weddings?
If you're asking if I'm getting married, I am not getting
No,
married.
okay. At the winery.
I would guess that I'd be very humbled if we would have folks that would approach us here in downtown in St. Charles. We do many smaller activities. We're more of a smaller venue, like a bachelorette party or a baby shower, those type of events. We do, I think, a half dozen weddings right now, what I call full-blown weddings of 50 to 80 people. I'm certainly don't have anything booked, if that's what you're asking. I certainly would look at those opportunities as they would come through.
Okay.
I think you wanted to have.
Yeah.
We're not really grading that much of the site. There's the building area around the parking, just to help the mounding effect. It sounded as if there's a perception that we're tearing up the land. Actually, we're saving 70% of the trees out there. The lakes themselves will be where the stormwater drains. I meant to address that for you. The water will actually drain to the lakes, and we'll use those as retention facilities. They'll still be wet, but we'll meter the water within the lakes. And, it's a very small percentage of impervious area being created compared to the amount of green that we have, so it won't impact the adjacent areas or the creeks dramatically. What I was explaining earlier is our exit off of Schwady is to have people turn right and actually turn left onto Highway DD, which is only about 3 to 4 miles from Highway 4061. And I think that a lot of I'm not witness to all the accidents and the problems on Highway DD, but the draw is, I would think, more from Highway 64 to here, and it sounds like a lot of the problems are further down. The area where we've got the exit further to the right of the drawing, initially we didn't show an exit there. We are concerned about sight distance there. We want to make sure that it is safe. We have been in contact with MoDOT about entrances onto Highway DD. The first thing they told us is that we would have to work with them on the traffic study, which they will look into, or we will hire a traffic engineer and they will review our study. So our selection of the entrance, the reason that we chose the entrance in the middle is to draw the traffic in at a safe location, to bring them into that point. We understand that people are driving very quickly on the roads. There's nothing that we can do about the problems of people driving foolishly. That's the way it is. So keep in mind that, as Chi explained earlier, and I think David pointed out to us that his idea is to preserve the natural beauty of this site, and I think we've done a great job. David's object is to have an area where he can produce wine, grow it, produce it, and sell it. So I think that's what he meant by the disjointed spread around. And no, he doesn't want to close his restaurant downtown, but he wants to consolidate his operations here. In future, as I understand, in the future, have a larger barrel facility in the second location. So.
And just to clarify, the 2.5 million is really just phase one. It really is not the complete, project investment.
Mr. Kimball, will
Yes,
you
sir.
have your liquor license cover all 36 acres, or just the building of phase one?
What will happen is, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to answer, but how I will apply for my bonded winery will be those 36 acres, and the state will come out and they will survey and they will approve the bondedness based on what they see. But yes, the whole 36 acres would be a bonded facility, all under one bonded winery. So as we got into phase two, a barrel facility, there would be no reason to get a second bonded winery license, because it would just be one plot, or one parcel, I guess.
Any other questions?
Are we allowed to talk again?
No, we've finished the public end of this. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now, we will now bring it back before the commission.
I can start,
Yeah.
I can start out. Road issues, traffic is not just traffic, it's downstream from the quarry. Most of these people have driven this to my house. I personally went with Steve Ellman. There was a group out called SOS, Save Our Shoulders, and there were a lot of deaths out there. And I think after Steve physically drove the roads, I think with his influence, some state money and some political power pushed the shoulder issue forward. But at the time, you could be driving down there, I think Ron turned over a horse trailer. If you pulled off the side of the road with a Hummer, you'd be upside down with all four wheels. I mean, it's dangerous. And it's still, the shoulders are out there, but it's still dangerous. The problem with the roads there, it's 55 miles an hour. Where all the other wineries are, it's 35. So you have drunk driving, yeah, but they're going a hell of a lot slower. And you have a lot of motorcycle accidents down there, but it's out in the wine district, down in Defiance, going towards Augusta. That's where everybody's located. That being said, there was somebody issued an issue about restaurants. I do international business. I've been to all the wineries in Sonoma, Napa, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Italy, you name it. All the wine tasting, they don't have restaurants. You go in, you taste wine, and pay whatever it is, and you're out. No food. That's the definition of a winery in California, at least. In South Africa, Ernie Els, I can rip off 200, at least 200 wineries I've been to there. So this is, and I don't want to argue with you, Robert, but it is a restaurant. I don't, by a name or whatever you want to call it, and the winery, and that's why this contention. It was 3 years before you were on board, and it came to a vote on Monday with the county council. AT district, agricultural, it still involves wineries. So we're talking the same subject, same type of people, same type of business, wineries, restaurants. I think, as I said before, I'm not against, I think your plans are beautiful. I wish you success. I like your architectural plans. I just think it's in the wrong place. That being said, I know all the landowners around there. You've got some big ones, Bush, Roger Deerberg's. There's a lot of wine or land around that area that's for sale, and also downstream past the quarry. And I think that would be a better location. And it's really when you say agriculture, we're in a rural agricultural area where you are, where all these folks live. That's farmland out there, sheep, horses, cattle, and I just don't, for the other people, I just think it's not appropriate for the area. Nothing against the plan, just in the wrong location.
Mr. Sedley?
The last gentleman that spoke impressed me when he said a winery is a winery, and I look at that, this is a complex where you could park 150 cars here, and this is phase 1 and phase 2, 3. That's in a very rural area. It's not overlooking the Missouri River or whatever other opportunities around St. Charles County. This is right in the middle of a very busy road in a very busy place. And I mean, I don't know whether, you know, the music is controlled, it's not our venue, and this stuff seems to have a creep. You have a business plan, and you're gonna do, you know, see what the people want, and you're gonna give that to them. And when you've got a huge complex out there, all of a sudden, it's right in the middle of a place that it shouldn't be. So good luck with it, beautiful, move it down the road.
Thank you.
I'll throw in my 2 cents. I'm from out here in the city, and I wanted to like this. I really wanted to like this project. You know, my wife will tell you we're big fans of Missouri wines. We think they're second to none. But speaking personally from my end, my wife will tell you I don't get drunk. It's not a part of me. I will drink, but I don't get drunk. I don't get physically. You don't notice when I get like that, especially with wine. My wife has to drive because while I'm not drunk, my faculties are down. I recognize that, but I can't see myself driving on Highway Double D with people that they don't have that control. And the thing that got to me was throughout the entire presentation we heard was destination, bringing more people onto those roads than are already there. The idea is to increase traffic by bringing people there. My perspective, not the right place.
And even if this gets turned down tonight, as everybody knows, they'll have another opportunity. They can go do battle with the county council. So.
Any other comments?
Thoughts?
All right, I will now entertain a motion.
I will make a motion.
Is that a motion to approve?
Approve.
In the... I'll second it. All right. Mr. Leonard, how do you vote?
No.
Mr. Prom?
I have to abstain.
Mr. Kuhn?
Vote yes.
Ms. Pauley?
No.
Mr. Sedley?
No.
Mr. Griffin?
No.
Mr. Ellis?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
No.
And I vote no as well. The motion fails 2-6 with 1 abstention. All right, the last item on our the agenda is the minutes from our last meeting. We all had a copy of that mailed to us. Any changes, comments, remarks?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve is read. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any other business before the commission before we adjourn? Is there a motion to adjourn? Moved. Is there a second? Here. All in favor? Aye. See you next month.